A kingdom falls.
January 2nd, 1492.
It was the solemn execution of a state. In the silence that followed the onslaught, only the embers bore witness to the cost of victory. Riding out from the Alhambra, one king meets two monarchs.
Emir Muhammad XII, known as Boabdil.
He dismounts before Ferdinand and Isabella.
He offers them the silver keys to the city.
The last light of Al-Andalus is extinguished.
Two powers collide.
The first, the Catholic monarchs.
Isabella I of Castile and Ferdinand II of Aragon.
Their marriage united the rival Christian kingdoms.
They forged a new, formidable power bloc. Spain.
Their ambition was absolute. A single, unified Christian state.
Their project, the final Reconquista. One ruler remains.
The challenger, Muhammad VI, or Boabdil.
Emir of the Nasrid Emirate of Granada.
His kingdom was the last remnant of Al-Andalus.
His ambition was simple: to endure.
But he was a ruler fatally divided against himself.
From these unforgiving peaks, the view stretches across Andalusia.
This is the theater of war. It paid gold tribute to Castile.
It balanced diplomat with raids.
It was a state that existed, as one chronicler wrote, neither in peace nor in war. But by 1482, this resilience was a mask. The kingdom was rotting from within.
A catastrophic civil war.
Nasrid leadership was fatally fractured.
It is yours by right. Take the city from him.
Emir Abu al-Hasan Ali fought his own son, Boabdil.
Rival emirs controlled separate districts within the capital city itself.
The economy was collapsing. Crushing taxes, triple those in Castile, fueled popular dissent.
The state was crippled by incessant internal conflict. Granada was not a fortress, but a fractured prize. The union of Ferdinand and Isabella ended centuries of Christian rivalry.
For a fleeting moment, the world was remade in fire.
This was a new Kaiserlewed Klugen of war.
It was won by the instruments of a modern state.
Halt! The first instrument, a national army!
Pikemen, crossbowmen, and knights of the military orders. This army was unified under the centralized command of the crown.
The second instrument, the Cruzada.
It provided the funds necessary to build and equip a modern army.
Was the artillery revolution.
These were the Lombardas.
Gunpowder firepower had never been used on this scale in Iberia.
This technology rendered Granada's medieval defenses obsolete.
The war became a systematic, brutal siege campaign. Christian forces captured Ronda in 1485. Malaga fell in 1487 after a grueling siege. Baza fell in 1489.
Gunpowder firepower and artillery siege operations won the Granadan War.
In the ominous light of late afternoon, an unprecedented force of 50,000 men assembled.
Spring 1491.
The grand Christian army arrived before the walls of Granada.
He was the last line of defense. In his eyes, the flickering light reflected not just the enemy's strength.
This was the crucible moment.
The problem was not assault. The city was still formidable.
A direct attack would be bloody and costly.
The Christian strategy was simpler and far more cruel.
It was a strategy of total, methodical starvation.
The first move was to destroy the Vega. The fertile plain that served as Granada's breadbasket. Then, they cut down the fruit trees and tore up the vines. They ensured no sustenance could reach the city's inhabitants. The wind bites to point deep tonight.
Then, disaster struck the besiegers.
Tents and supplies were devastated.
انظروا المعسكر يحترق.
For a moment, it seemed the siege might be broken.
Would they retreat for the winter, or commit to the end?
Check the supply tent, see what's left. Move the wounded to the rise.
The monarchs did not retreat.
It was not a weapon of steel, but of psychology.
They built a city.
In just 80 days, at the very gates of Granada.
It was laid out on a grid in the symbolic shape of a Christian cross.
They named it Santa Fe.
Holy faith.
From the walls of his beloved Alhambra, Boabdil the Unfortunate saw the inevitable.
This construction was a masterstroke of psychological warfare. A medieval siege was a contest of endurance. Santa Fe was an unmistakable message to the people of Granada.
For the people of Granada, every moment was a struggle, and sometimes the weight of that struggle became too much to bear.
We are not leaving.
It extinguished all hope within the walls. There was no possibility of relief. The city of brick had conquered the morale of the city of stone.
The fall was not the end.
It was the beginning of the true consequence. The peaceful handover was secured by the Treaty of Granada. A document that offered remarkably generous terms.
It was a promise of coexistence.
Their mosques and customs were to be respected.
It stipulated that there would be no forced conversions. They were promised the right to be judged by their own laws. The parchment held the key, a desperate plea for aid. Yet, in that moment,
It was a promise that was broken.
this period of tolerance was brief. Cardinal Cisneros arrived, disdaining the gradual approach. He began a campaign of forced conversions.
This flagrant violation of the treaty led to an armed revolt in 1499.
And it was used as the pretext to nullify the treaty's protections. By 1501, the choice offered to all Muslims was stark: baptism, exile, or enslavement.
Marcó el final definitivo de la convivencia, la compleja cultura de la coexistencia religiosa. El 2 de enero de 1492 fue el fin de la Reconquista. Generé un excedente de capacidad militar y celo cruzado.
Everything in order here. You may pass. Thank you, Captain. May you have a prosperous day.
Apenas 3 meses después, el 17 de abril.
The fall of Granada directly enabled the era of global empire.
That man was Christopher Columbus,